Don't forget, you can reach the latest episode of Potomac Watch anytime. Just ask your smart speaker, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast. That is, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast.
From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Gigot here on Potomac Watch, and I'm here with my colleagues Alicia Finley and Mary O'Grady. So the markets on Monday morning sold off in the first instance, and then when the Mexico announcement was made, they popped back up to pretty much even. Not surprising, you're going to see this kind of volatility as the tariff regime, such as it is, moves ahead. But we should also tell our viewers who haven't been following this closely, that Donald Trump did attack us on Sunday morning for an editorial we wrote in Saturday's publication, published first online on Friday night, calling his Canada tariffs the dumbest trade war in history. And Trump didn't take kindly to that. Of course, we made the point that why would you pick a fight with our allies for neighbors and two enormous trading partners for reasons that are unnecessary. One point being that the fentanyl is not going to be stopped from coming in by what Mexico or Canada can do. I don't even know how much fentanyl comes in from Canada. Most of it, I assume, comes in from Mexico. But it was interesting that Donald Trump, Alicia, said in his Truth Social post, will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. But we will make America great again, and it will all be worth the price that must be paid, end quote. And he promised a new golden age at the end of the rainbow. And once these beautiful tariff negotiations are done, I am grateful for the president's attention, as always, to our editorials. Good to know we're being read. But this point that Mary made about who won, Trump is going to say he won. But as I look at this deal, what did he win? 10,000 people at the border, new talks with Mexico, 10,000 Mexican National Guard at the border. Are they going to really make that much difference to the flows? I mean, migration has already crashed, and it's crashed since Trump took over. Well, it started to crash at the end of the Biden presidency because he changed the way that it was enforced. And it's crashed under Trump even more because, well, they sent in a incentive that said you're not going to be allowed to stay. That's why it's crashed.
Right. And I think he just wants to take credit for that in his show off his diplomacy. And this is partly just a marketing ploy saying, hey, I threatened tariffs. Look, I got something out of it. Well, to your point, or to Trump saying that, well, there must be pain for any kind of economic gain. And he seems to think that, again, this isn't just about the border. We need to renegotiate the USMCA. We need to bring more manufacturing jobs back. And the way to do that is to threaten our trade allies. And they are our biggest trade partners. We get Mexico and Canada are number 1 and 2 for our imports and also exports. And we need to threaten them with tariffs, and that will force companies to build factories or drill more in the U.S. or produce more lumber, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, consumers will have to then bear higher prices on some goods to force manufacturing or force companies to move production back to the U.S., and this will benefit workers in the long term. At least that's the theory of the case. That is the theory of the case. I don't think that's ever been proven out in any kind of practice. We saw with Trump's tariffs in his first term on steel and aluminum. They did not create any new jobs. There were jobs that were actually lost. If you look at in 2019 as downstream manufacturers and uncertainty, they actually cut jobs, and that was including in autos. So I think there's going to be much more pain than gain in the short term and long term if he actually goes ahead with these tariffs.
Pretty much the whole business community was united in opposing the tariffs. National Association of Manufacturers, Chamber of Commerce, even the aluminum makers who benefited from tariffs in Trump's first term didn't like it because, of course, they need imported aluminum from Canada to be able to do much of what they do. So I wonder if some of Trump's economic advisors didn't say to him, maybe better to pull back here?
Oh, I think for sure. I mean, they're not saying it publicly, but I'm frustrated because I don't know how many different ways there are to say North America is an integrated ecosystem when it comes to manufacturing. We use the whole continent and we put capital where it makes the most sense. If you destroy that, you will send us back in time and you will destroy meaningful amounts of wealth in all three countries. I mean, there's no way around that. And you have very reputable economists working in the Trump administration who are saying that privately. They don't want to confront him publicly, But there's just no way to get around that fact.
I think one of the big messages here, Alicia, why this forceful initial demonstration of tariffs, earlier than a lot of people thought, larger than a lot of people thought. Some optimists in the markets who looked at Trump's first term and said, see, well, it was sort of nothing, didn't matter too much. The reason this is important this time, particularly going after Canada and Mexico, it means if you're any country in the world, no matter how close you are to the United States, you can be a target. No country is safe from potential Trump tariffs. And he even said, I think on the weekend, yep, Europe's next, or maybe it was late last week. Europe is next. They're coming, man. So if you're sitting in Japan, you're going, I wonder what that means. Europe's already said, yep, we're preparing for it and we'll have a response. And it's sending a message of certainty to the markets, uncertainty to investors. But also, if you are sitting in these foreign capitals, you're saying to yourself, geez, I thought I had a pretty good relationship with the United States. I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to diversify our economic relationship so we're not as dependent on the United States market. We're not as dependent on trade in the United States. And you're already hearing that in Canada from not just Justin Trudeau's party, but the Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre, who is going to probably be the next prime minister. They're all saying that. And I think that that's a message to all these countries that they are going to have to diversify their trading relations. And you're going to see, who does that benefit? Well, one person that's going to benefit, Xi Jinping in China, because they're going to have to sell to China.
That's right. And the Trump 10% tariffs, by the way, on China will probably just cause a diversion of Chinese goods to other countries, including Canada and Mexico. I mean, one other point is that you need U.S. allies to put economic pressure on China, especially Japan, and not just economic pressure, but, build alliances for defense purposes. And this is really a snub to those allies. I mean, you saw Joe Biden do that with his LNG export pause, which hurt Europe and Japan. You're seeing that a little bit with the Biden and Trump's hostility to the Nippon Steel takeover of U.S. Steel, which it would actually increase investment in steel production in the U.S. But undermining U.S. alliances does not make America great again and will actually just empower Xi Jinping and other adversaries.
I'll tell you how nuts this is. Over the weekend, the licenses that Biden gave to oil companies to bring oil out of Venezuela were set to expire. But if the Trump administration didn't do anything, they continue. Those licenses continue. Meanwhile, he's putting 10% tariffs on Canadian oil. Explain that to me.
We're going to see how this all plays out, but we'll have many more trade commentary in the days and weeks ahead. All right. Thank you all for listening. We're here with Potomac Watch every day.